Alright, I'll now take any questions from the floor. In that case, we've got 2 questions off the Twitter, which I'll ask right now. The first is, what would you do to ensure that people stood for the vice chair positions in the elections? So I'm going to give everyone 1 minute on that. Yeah. You go ahead.
So come back up again. So the question is,
what would you do to ensure that people stood for the vice chair positions?
I think people don't really understand what the vice chair position is. You think it's a bit of a half-house between being elected and not really being elected. And it's a big shame, because it's such a great opportunity to be able to continue your studies and do something more. So I think, first of all, educate people as to what's really required, and then also show them that, you know, it's a brilliant opportunity for them to learn new things, show their skill set, challenge themselves, and do something exciting. So I think I'd educate people and also do a couple of events, see what the job offers, and allow people to kind of experience it. And so.
Just left my water. So the vice chair's positions, obviously they've not been sort of well approached this year. I think we need to push the fact that the vice chairs are trustees of the union. That means money. If people complain about the fact that there's not enough funding for this, there's not enough money coming into the union, we need to push the fact that the vice chair has a role to play in the committees that decide the funding that the university has, etc., where all this money goes. I think it's not popular enough. There needs to be, obviously, as I said, there needs to be an increase in sort of publicity over what the role of the vice chair actually is. But you've got to make people realise that as a vice chair, you do actually have quite a lot of power to do stuff. So yeah, that's how it should go.
So to encourage people to stand for the vice chair positions, I would first off make it apparent about all the things that you have to encounter whilst as vice chair. Yes, it does seem like a lot of work, and yes, it's not a sabbatical position, so you have to do your university work with it. But on the fact that it's also really rewarding for volunteer work, it can also probably be quite fun. I mean, you get to work with all the clubs and societies, which is in itself good. You get to, hear all the things that go on and all that sort of stuff. But it's also really, really rewarding for volunteer work. I mean, I last year got 200 hours volunteer work for the union, and I'll be getting roughly the same again this year. And people need to understand that this is something that will really, really benefit you on your CV. Several hundred people are going to qualify with the same grade you're going to get this year, and then there's going to be people a year after. It's a really important job, it's rewarding, and I would just encourage that as much as possible. So, thank you.
So let's face it, I don't think a lot of people actually know what vice chair is. If they don't know what the vice presidents are, chances are they don't know what the vice chair is. I'm currently president of a society which used to have about 50 members, and within a few months it plummeted to about 30. Two simple reasons. People need to feel accepted and need to have some sort of incentive, so rewarded. For a start, the job description needs to be clearer. The responsibilities need to be more clear so people know actually what they're doing, and it needs to be given some sort of, I'll be honest, a reward. It might be controversial, but people should be paid for it, to be honest with you. I mean, they're giving up their spare time to do this job, so you can easily just need a society for your spare time. I think people just need to have some sort of reward alongside the clear job description. Thank you. Mike.
Does anyone want to come in with a question?
I have a question. Just stand up?
Yeah.
Right. You were all saying about you wanted to increase both volunteers in all societies and get people into the union. How would you do that, both volunteers and just get people into the building?
Okay, very good question. In terms of getting people into the union, I mean, I for one really don't like the look of the barony. It's a dark place, it's a stingy place, it's quite sticky, it's not a good place for me to be. If I'm going for a night out, I don't want to be in there. So I feel like to get more people into the union, I would try to increase the sort of cleanliness and the welcome atmosphere that you get from the union. In terms of getting more volunteers into the union, I would go for advertising all the different clubs and societies that are around, so all the different things you can be a part of, and try to gauge everyone's interest with that and make everyone join and things like that. And also encourage them that if they've got a hobby or an idea for a club and society, to start it and to carry on and keep going with it and develop that into a full club and society with many, many members. So yeah, clear the union up, make it a better place to be, and entice more volunteers in with the current clubs and societies.
That's a great question to ask, because I covered it in my speech. One of my key aims as Vice President of Activities and Development would be to really push the sponsorship deals that the union currently offers. Currently, they're not good. They need vast improvement. And if we can really drag in, I know there's a lot of clubs who are safely nestled at Barhome and have been for years, or at the Arc, but if we can really push the clubs who don't have that kind of strength of sponsorship already, if we can bring them in through our own sponsorship deals, which need to be improved, the food especially, then there's so much opportunity, and within my job remit, I can make sure that the clubs and societies within the union can form a backbone to a union community. They can be the start of what makes the union great again. We can have it back at having queued out the door up to Cathedral Street for 12-hour Tuesday. So yeah, the sponsorships would be my main ambition to push.
I hate to jump on the bandwagon, but I actually really agree with Tom on this one. We need to sort out the union as a resource. At the moment, it doesn't seem to know whether it's a nightclub or it's somewhere where you go for drinks before you go to a nightclub. And quite honestly, I don't think that's what the union's about. But unfortunately, whether they like it or not, I think that is, first of all, one of the main reasons why people enter the union in the first place, because it's a place to meet people, have the stuff in common with you. But I would also, furthering from that, aside from the alcohol, like to push the fact to students that everyone can get a degree these days. There's more universities, there's colleges merging together. Anyone can get a degree. You need to have something that makes you stand out, and it's what you do in your spare time. Like I said, I have the connections to set up these networks to prove it to students, so hopefully that would be a good start. Thank you.
I actually think you can kill two birds with one stone, and I think the approach to the question is wrong. I think if we concentrate on getting people into the union, as in getting people into a physical building, then our approach is wrong. If people feel that they're part of the union, that's way more powerful, and that will not only encourage people to volunteer because they feel like they're part of something bigger, but it'll naturally follow that people would come inside. And how do you get people feeling like they're part of the union? It's getting creative and getting people to understand that being part of the union is something so much bigger. It's being part of your clubs and society, it's being a class rep, it's volunteering, and it's adding to every other student's experience. So if you do that, then naturally people will come into the union. And I found that as soon as I knew I could book the debates chamber for an art exhibition, I was like, are you serious? And it's only because I was part of a club and society, and it's only because I volunteered that naturally followed. So I think you have to make people feel part of something bigger in order for them to come inside.
Yourself in front. Did you have a question?
Me? Yeah.
Were you wanting to ask a question? Sorry, I just saw you had your hand up in the last round. Rebecca?
Okay, so confused. One of the signs that, no, I'll rephrase that. What will you do in terms of employability? So for students out with of clubs and societies to get them more employable, what will you do in terms of career stuff?
Well, something that's really come to the fore, especially the past year, is the Higher Education Achievement Report. This is an amazing way to document. It's from aside from your academic studies. And it goes in conjunction with your academic profile. It's a good way of documenting the volunteering that goes on that you do at the union, and it makes employers sit up and take notice of what you've done outside of your degree. And I really believe that pushing this and not just making students aware of it, but making employers more aware of it is a really good way of making sure that through the work you do in volunteering at the union or in any form, puts you at the top of the pile in terms of job candidacy.
Like I said earlier, I think students, we need to reward them more, make sure our achievements are recognised. We have one award ceremony at the end of the year, which is the Star Awards. Perhaps that's not enough. Maybe these students need something physical to show to the employers, to show that it's not just something, a benchmark in their CV. Like I said earlier, my society's had a lot of graduate recruiters along, and in the past they've actually given us a lot of internship advice for their companies. If we had that for other societies with other industries, then perhaps it would be a successful idea. I mean, for every society there's surely a recruiter for it. There's a lot of societies that are based around their course or their academic work. So if we just target the right recruiters and also make sure that achievements are rewarded, hopefully we'll have something good for the students. Thank you.
So to make students feel more employable outside of clubs and societies, well, there's all the volunteer hours, and I don't know why the Higher Education Achievement Report, if someone thought of that, they went, let's take our time with this. Let's release this in a few years. I don't know why they did that. It should have been released immediately. As soon as people thought of it, they should have put it out there. But aside from all the volunteering, we could do things like have more open days and just advertise what employers look for, so students can be aware of that, so they can sort of aim more towards that. Just because one of the problems I face, I'm a forensic science student, there are no jobs for forensic science in the UK. None. So where am I going to get employed? I don't know. I'm going to have to get better degrees. I'm probably going to have to go back into academia, or I'm going to have to move somewhere else. So I really think that it's an important thing to know that with open days, you get to know what the career is going to be and that sort of stuff. So yeah, thank you.
I think there's quite a lot of disconnect between employers and students, and there's not enough contact between the two. I think there needs to be more physical engagement, not just at the careers fair or whatever, where you talk to them for a second and then that's it. I think we need to constantly and consistently invite employers, future employers from all departments to come and speak to students and see what they're actually doing. And I think that's the key area, because all you get the career service, which is brilliant, and you get the careers fairs, but at the same time you just don't get enough contact with them. What do they want? What do they want to hear from you? What do they expect from you to do? And you're just in uni 4 years or whatever, then you're out there and you're like, oh. So I think there needs to be better engagement between employers and employees.